All right, so it is easy to do. Welcome, everybody. This is Jan Stringer.
And Alan Hickman.
And we're really excited to be with you today and just share with you one of our signature messages, which is about how to attract those seemingly invisible clients, the ones that may have been eluding you, the ones that you're seeking to find, the perfect ones, the ones that are a great fit for you and what you're all about. And today we're going to just give you a like a 60-minute introduction into what we feel is one of the primary ways that will help you to do that as soon as possible. So, Alan, why don't you say hello and let everybody hear your voice for a moment?
Hello.
That means I'm going to quit talking for a minute.
Right. This is Alan Hickman with Perfect Customers. And, it's just really fulfilling for me to have this state-of-the-art technology where we can connect with people from all over the world.
You bet.
Like Carrie mentioned, a number of people from Canada, Europe, all over the United States, and it's just really
In the Ukraine, I mean, wow,
Ukraine.
how does that happen? Yeah.
Right. It's just astounding. Here we are in the high desert in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and we're able to connect directly with so many amazing people. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Because this actually demonstrates, it's really cool, that there's perfect customers everywhere.
It's right. This is evidence that they're not so invisible. And today we can actually put our eyes and not just our ears towards meeting you. So one of the things about today's topic is something that was near and dear to my heart. So let me ask you, how many people here have been in sales for a long time? And if you can see, raise your hand. If you can't, if just vocal in, long time.
2009, from 2009.
Okay, not too long, but regardless of how long you've been in sales, whether you've been in sales for a long time or you're just getting started maybe with your business, maybe you were in some other kind of endeavor. What I discovered that after I've actually been in sales a really long time, and so has Alan, but what I discovered is that I had gotten jaded. You know what I mean? Jaded around selling my products and services. I've had perfect customers now for 16 years. I've been basically talking about the same topic for a long time. And how I discovered I'd gotten jaded was recently, not that long ago, a few years ago actually. And we had a big technology crisis because we are in the process of going from one website and one CRM management system with all our database of customers to another one. And what happened was it seemingly went away overnight. Like all our content went away. Alan was telling me that when we go to this new technology for our customer management database, that we couldn't just download it and assume everybody was still a client. And so what we had to do, we were in this place of having to start fresh. And so I kind of went around in a state of mourning for a while. I was real down in the dumps because I was feeling like I had lost my clientele. And so has anybody ever gone through an experience like that where you just felt like all of a sudden before you had something and now you don't? So there was a little bit of a grieving process. And so one of the things that transpired around the same time was I went to a social gathering here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I was talking with somebody, and she was practically pulling the information out of me. I mean, like I felt myself resisting telling her what I did for a living. I don't know why that was, but she was having to ask me prompting questions to get me to even open up about my business. And at the end of our conversation, she said, well, you know, I've actually been wanting a business coach, and I wondered if maybe you and I could set up an appointment to talk about me and you working together. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's like wants to do business with me, and I'm over here, you know, holding my cards close to my vest. I'm not even sharing with her like I normally might have in what I would conceive as or perceive as a selling situation. Long story short, I made an appointment, and on my way home that night, I'm driving home and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, here I was going around this big moping, grieving kind of a way. And I was thinking to myself, I don't have any clients. They're not coming to me the way they used to. And here's somebody right in my own neighborhood that wanted to do business with me. And then I got this little thought, this notion that said, how many other people are out there just like that person? And I've seen this person over, you know, many, many times at many other gatherings, and I'd never seen her as a possible client. So how many times am I looking at somebody right in the face and not seeing them as one of my potential clients? So, Alan, tell us a little bit about your seeing invisible clients. I know you've got some stories to tell too.
Well, I guess our experience, we hired a coach, and she told us that as we, you know, here we thought we had this huge international audience. And of course, what Jan is talking about, when you switch over your customer resource management system, everyone on your list has to re-opt in to your list and say, hey, I'm still interested. And not everybody does that. And so in the midst of this, we hired this coach, and she suggested that we maybe do some local networking. And I'm like, you mean here in Santa Fe?
Well, when we moved to Santa Fe, we didn't know anybody here, but we heard stories from other people in similar industries as ours. They would tell us things about our local community. One of them being that people in Santa Fe don't do business with people that offer programs like ours. Yeah. So before we go into how you can start to really take advantage of people that might be right in front of you, not take advantage, that sounded terrible, didn't it? How you might connect with people that are right in front of you. I'm gonna have to mute a little. Sorry. All right, I'm muting all the lines. I didn't know I hadn't done that yet. If you wanna, you have to unmute yourself because everybody is muted except for myself. Alan, you're muted as well, so you might have to, I can unmute you. Let's see. Okay, you're unmuted, Alan. So everybody else is muted just to block out the background noise, but you can unmute yourself easily, either down on the bottom toolbar or over on the chat. So here we were in our state of wanting to attract new customers and going into really launching our new brand, our new website, our new CRM system, yet there was this seeming problem. And so what we discovered, I'm going to set up our PowerPoint, so give me a minute. I'm still learning.
One of the interesting
thank you, Alan. I'm
about having the invisible client show up is here I had this idea of, oh, we don't do local networking. We've got an international audience. And when we actually did start to do local networking, for example, I searched on Google networking in Santa Fe. And up came this really cool organization called Friday Networking Lunch. And it's where they organize, you can go to lunch every Friday and they sit with 4 to 6 people and network. And long story short, over, I guess, about a year and a half to 2 years, we now have a list of over 500 people in Santa Fe and Albuquerque in our database. People who I can call on the phone and they know who we are and what we do because I've had lunch with them. And so,
well, here's how we did that too. So here's the, if you're looking at the computer screen or if you're not, one of the things that we discovered that we both have, I won't tell on Alan, I'll just tell on myself, he can tell about his own blinders, is something that we call having a blinder. And a blinder is what we're describing here, like my experience at that Santa Fe gathering, where I literally was talking to someone who was a potential client, and I had a blinder on that said I couldn't market in Santa Fe. And that was a blinder that I wore so that when I walked into gatherings, I had this blinder. And I discovered that I had a lot of blinders about local marketing. And one of them was kind of an arrogance, you would say. So I had a blinder called I'm too arrogant to market locally. Like we have a global clientele. We had, this international list of people all over the world. I had a little arrogance blinder going on. My arrogance was keeping me from seeing people that might have been right in front of me. And so after this experience at the potluck dinner where she and I set up an appointment, I realized I was ready to take that blinder off and to start seeing clients in places that I hadn't been looking. So, like, Alan, what was your blinder about local marketing? Was there more to it than, how did you feel about it? And what do you think your blinder was that caused you to start getting out there in networking locally?
oh, sure, put me on the spot.
I love to do that.
Yes. Well, I like that word, the arrogance. I mean, I really felt like it was, I wanted this, how do I say this? It's really telling on myself that I liked sort of hiding behind the computer or behind the telephone, that I could be on the phone with people all over the world and lead classes, etc. And that, that was comfortable to me. But to actually sit at a table, a lunch table, and have to be able to communicate clearly who I was and what we do, that was a real challenge for me. And I had a blinder that, oh no, I don't do that.
Right. Yeah, and that's very typical of all of us. I mean, whatever, might be local marketing for you or for me, it might be that you don't do anything over the internet. Some people only do local marketing and never even thought about getting out of their neighborhood with their client marketing strategies. But the first place that we want to recognize is that we've got a blinder. In fact, we've probably got a lot of different blinders. And so I want you to take just a minute and write down 1 or 2 of your blinders, and then we're going to open the lines up and share some of those. So there's lots of blinders. In fact, where's my little list? I usually like to share a whole list of them. Hold on, I'm going to get that out. One of the blinders that I heard a lot from my clients is that they hate networking groups. Has anybody ever said that to yourself? So these are blinders. And a blinder usually starts with something like the words I can't, I won't, I don't, I'll never do local marketing. You can just hear me saying that. Or I'm certain that, anytime I'm certain about something, I better watch out. There's a blinder lurking. Anytime I say, I already know that, uh-oh, blinder alert, blinder alert. So these are how we know we're getting into the blinder category. Got a few people. People want free services. Not if people locally can afford my coaching. I love how the universe works. All right. So those are some good blinders that people are starting to recognize over the chat line. Here's some of my favorite that I've heard. Have you ever said this? Then you might have a blinder. I hate networking groups. I hate to travel away from my home. I hate social media. Okay, anybody said that? I hate to bother people. That's a blinder. Sometimes when I ask my clients, have you called that person to see if they're interested? Oh, I don't want to bother them. One client told me, I just don't like to meet new people. That's a blinder. It starts with I don't like, and then fill in the blank. Blinders always start with something that you're familiar and you say frequently. In fact, you've said it so many times that you start to think that it's true. Okay, Carrie Bell, you're back. Okay. And another one that I hear is I don't know how to sell and I don't know how to market myself. Have you ever said anything like that? Or I don't know who to call. I don't know how to close sales. I can't find the time. I can't find enough new clients. I can't find people that'll pay my prices. I won't spend that money. Have you ever had anybody come to you and offer you something that might benefit you in your business and you find yourself saying the same thing? I can't afford it. I won't spend the money. I don't have the time. Okay, you're starting to get the hang of our blinder conversation. One of them that I busted through big time was that people don't buy from me in the summer. They're all on vacation, right? What about every holiday? They don't buy during Thanksgiving. They don't buy during Christmas. Let me tell you, some of my best business deals have been done since I took these blinders off in holiday seasons. So if anybody wants to I'm going to open the lines for a minute. We might have some. Let's see. Unmute. Okay. Everybody is unmuted. So see, we've got a lot of people. If you've got background noise, mute yourself. But the lines are open. I want to hear some of your favorite blinders. What are you noticing? Anybody?
Well, Jan, I'm noticing that in the career I'm transitioning out of, people always came to me. I didn't have to really market because I'm the only attorney in Santa Fe pretty much doing foreclosure law.
Okay.
So that was easy. And now I'm transitioning into coaching, and it's like I have to get myself out there. So I don't just put up a shingle and people start calling me like they used to. I have to do some active marketing. So it feels a little out of my comfort zone.
Okay. So you've got a blinder says, I need to be comfortable.
Right.
A blinder that says, maybe I'm not sure how to get started, or I can't, I don't know. Or maybe you're just in that quandary, but I'm sure there's a blinder or two that you're ready to remove. What would you say the biggest one would be to starting your new coaching business, coming from a successful law career in business? What would you say your biggest blinder is at this point?
I think that I've bought into the Santa Fe myths as well.
Okay.
Because I'm here in Santa Fe too. And one of those myths is there are so many coaches and healers and people who are doing self-development type of businesses. And maybe the market's too saturated here, whereas it wasn't in the legal field. So I had this blinder that I'm looking at maybe a scarcity issue.
Okay, very good. Scarcity. There you go. All right. Ready to remove that blinder?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. There you go. All right, so stay tuned for more. We're going to be removing all our blinders today. So who else has a blinder you'd be willing to share?
So this is Carrie.
Hey, Carrie.
So I live in a small town and everybody knows about my product. So nobody's going to, the general phrase is, oh, I know about that. And they don't want to know anymore.
I already know that.
Already know that. Blinder alert, blinder alert. Okay.
See, other people have blinders too.
That's right. So there's a couple of good blinders. I'll just share them. I'm just reading on the chat. Well, one is not enough people locally can afford my coaching program. People want free services. I already tried. That's a good blinder. Cultural mentality. Yep, that sounds like a blinder. People already know about my product. People in this town don't spend that kind of money. Okay. Are you starting to recognize these are blinders, you guys? These are things that we say to ourselves so many times that we start to believe them. So that's another piece that's a little bit of evidence. Let's see. We might need to mute again. Somebody, okay. Hi. So here's the blinder removal number one. So first of all, before we get into blinder, you got to be willing to remove your blinders. Is everybody willing to remove your blinder? Okay. Just what I want you to do, whether we can see you or not, is take your hand, remove that blinder. Just remove it. Thank you. Thank you for all those visuals. All right. Okay. I'm going to mute the lines just a little bit. All right. If you want to speak, you can always speak. Just you have to unmute your own line now. But here's what I want you to do is I want you to think about the strangest, weirdest place you have ever or you could ever meet a potential client. So just for a minute, think about what would be a strange place to meet a potential client. Maybe you've met somebody in a strange and weird place. You know, for me, I was in the bathroom. The ladies' bathroom, I think, is a very good prospecting place. And I actually met a new client in the ladies' bathroom. We had been sharing our nature call together, and then, you know, we're washing our hands at the sink. So think about what is the weirdest place that you could actually meet a potential new client. And I want you to write down, even though it sounds ludicrous, I just want you to write it down. Okay? And when you've got your three, raise your hand. I'm going to unmute the lines again so you can share your crazy place. Lines are unmuted. All right. I want to hear some crazy places. Our chat line is going a grocery store checkout. That was from Michelle. I don't know. Michelle. Okay, thank you. Yeah. All right, here's somebody that says on an airplane flight, a laundromat, and a train. A plane or a train, that would be some interesting places. I picked up a few good business cards on an airplane ride before. I don't think they were going to do business, but they were cute. What are some of yours? A restaurant or a fast food place? So anyway, lines are open. Who wants to share one of yours? Let's see. Denise, I see you're trying to talk, but I can't hear you. A fashion show. All right, well, I'm going to have to mute our lines again. It's getting a little noisy again. If you have one, you can put it on the chat. So, I'm terrible at this thing so far. All right. All right, I get real serious when I'm trying to figure out the control, so apologize for that. But here's the point of the exercise. just as people are coming up with, somebody just said a hotel check-in, a plane, a train, it could be any place. Alan, what's some of your favorite weird places?
Funeral.
A funeral. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because it's like the blinder is that, oh, I'm supposed to be reverent, and I'm here, to honor this person's passing, etc. So who would be interested in actually transforming their lives as a result of what I have to offer and who I am?
Wow.
So that's, for me, that's a big blinder.
Right. Somebody just said on the chat line at a hotel check-in, I think we said that.
That's a good one.
A convention, conferences, conferences and convention. I've definitely, have picked up new clients, even if I think I'm just going to learn something from the conference. It's a fabulous networking opportunity. And Denise also said a nephew's birthday party and a graduation party. All right, so are you starting to get the impression that you might have been thinking a little too small about where you might meet clients?
Oh my goodness.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, somebody, the chat line is hot now.
Yeah.
A doctor's office. So that's what there is about tip number one, is to be creative. I mean, the last person I thought that I would ever meet at that potluck dinner was as a future business client. And so not only is local marketing a good option for some of us, sometimes you have to go outside of your market. If you're feeling like, that your market isn't really going to substantiate all of the clientele that you need, maybe that's a clue that if you're in the business you're in, you're going to have to spread your wings a little bit and get outside of it. And so be creative, go to a conference, ask other people how do they meet clients, and you can also start doing a lot of networking over the phone. We do networking using our phone. We've networked with people we've never met. And people have sent out information. Some of you that are on this call today are a result of somebody that we networked over the phone. And they said, well, let me invite, some of my friends to this party, and here you are today. So number one, be creative about where to meet and how to meet them, and take your blinders off about it. If you're afraid to pick up the phone and call somebody, that's a blinder. People love to hear from you. So maybe if you're feeling a little hesitant to picking up the phone or doing some kind of a connection over the phone, then maybe it's an opportunity for you to really expand your abilities in a way that you hadn't thought about yet. And again, be very creative.
Yeah, I love that piece about being creative. To me, it also relates to, I forget who it was that said, I love how the universe works.
Yes.
Well, that's being creative is sort of trusting that it's a nurturing, caring, supportive universe that we live in.
Yes.
And so all of these seemingly strange places, the universe is actually going to support me is arranging me to be at the right place, the right time, and meet my perfect customer. So part of creativity is having that trust in the universe.
Yes.
Now, blinders just cut that trust off.
Yeah, so here's Denise just put on the chat line that she heard about us through Alan Davidson. And let me tell you, you might have heard our story if you were on that call, but Alan Davidson's amazing, amazing guy. He has known programs and is known all over the world with he's fabulous, 6'4" gay man, and just a hoot to be with. But do you know where I met Alan? I met Alan when I lived in Houston. At one of my favorite passions is to do a dance technique called Nia. And that was one of my passions. I go to dance, 2-3 times a week. And in Houston is where I got started with that. And I met Alan actually on the dance floor. So go figure that now he and I and Alan we call my husband Alan Medium Al because he's a little bit shorter than Big Al, which is taller than Alan David's 6'4". Alan, my husband, is 6'1". So we've got Medium Al, Big Al. Anyway, that was another tip about being creative is what are you passionate about? Where do you go that you love to do something? When I'm on the dance floor, my face changes. Now, I get about 10 years younger. I feel happier. So put that into your creativity about where you're going to meet people. You want to meet people doing the same things that you like to do.
Yeah, so trusting the universe, that Alan Davidson story really is a perfect example where you went to Nia and you met this amazing guy, and then fast forward like 8 years. A couple of things that we didn't know about Alan was at the time that you all met, he was $250,000 in debt. And he attributes participating in our program with supporting him in getting his book out there, his beautiful book, with some amazing strategic synchronicities experiences there. But it also credits our program with supporting him in becoming one of the top product launch managers in the country. And so from, going a chance meeting at NIA to a fellow who now we have a case study. He actually asked Jan to interview him so that he could tell his story, his success story about using strategic attraction planning to support him in fulfilling on all of these amazing things. So now, we've got this incredible case story.
Yeah, so we've got other people relating to this story too, Alan. Yoga classes, somebody met some Mish at a traffic stop. That sounds like an interesting story. And now Denise is saying she loves dancing with with Helen Terry, who is also near and dear to my heart. So, here's how it works. This is what we call removing your blinders and then getting clear about what you love and just do more of that. Now, that's a whole next class probably where we take you through our strategic attraction planning process. But today's call is all about identifying how the people that you most want to be serving are right in front of you. So blinder tip removal number 2 is about resistance. And so, I'm the bluefish a lot of the time, going in the direction opposite of the goldfish in this picture. And when I'm the bluefish going in my own direction, if you'll notice, I'm all by myself. And so that's because I might be resisting. And how I started to really notice this blinder tip removal number 2 is one day when I did first move to Santa Fe, I sought out a women's group so that I could start connecting with people here. And on the way, well, first of all, I was going to be late because when I get nervous, I can't figure out what to wear. So I change clothes 20 times. So then I'm cutting it right to the minute I have to walk out the door so I won't be terribly late. But in this case, I was running, a little bit behind because I was nervous, and I had changed clothes a million times. And I get in the car, I'm driving to this networking event, and I'm thinking, oh my God, my hair looks flat. I look stupid. I should have worn the other outfit. I won't know what to say. I had all this resistance bubbling up inside of me that's really, really being produced by my nerves, my blinder was on that I wasn't going to be able to meet anybody, or I wasn't going to know what to say. And so fortunately, before I got to that meeting, I called a very good friend of mine who has done a lot of our work, and I got on the phone with her and I kind of explained the situation, and she talked me through it, and she says, well, what is it that you really like to have happen when you arrive at the meeting? And I said, well, what I'd really like to have happen is I'd like to meet a lot of people. I'd like to feel happy. I'd like to connect with people in a big way. I'd like to be able to meet new people that might turn out to be a client or a good friend or something along the way. And so just in the process of communicating my resistance, my upset, my concern, my consideration, guess what started to happen? I started to melt away all of my resistance to going to that meeting. And the resistance is sometimes, we think of resistance as being something that shouldn't be there. Like it's wrong, like I shouldn't feel resistance to going to meeting new people. I shouldn't feel resistance to trying something that feels a little uncomfortable. Like I have a whole litany of things that I can say to myself that will just literally take me out of the game. I can talk myself out of literally everything with my own resistance. But here's the tip. Resistance is in your life for a reason. That resistance, if you are a weight trainer, like some of you that are, go to the gym, Alan, when you go to the gym, don't you do some kind of a resistance building? That's what is the purpose of that?
Well, the free weights, and it's that resistance that helps the muscles to grow stronger.
Right. So in the process of that, resisting against the weight, your muscles get stronger, right? So that's the tip number 2. One way to take your blinder off is, first of all, is to identify what your resistance is. And then really the most important part about this tip is you got to communicate it to somebody else. If you just sit with that resistance thought in your mind, that resistance thought will talk you out of taking the next step. And so you've got to get in communication and dialogue with a real live human being. And I know our day is spent with texting and electronics, and we're in a high-tech world. But I'm telling you, the only way to remove that blinder of resistance that keeps you talked out of taking the next step is to talk it through with somebody else. So that's my tip number 2.
Yeah, right. And it's interesting that resistance that, I shouldn't have this resistance. And that's a real common thought. That's just another blinder.
It literally is. So I'm going to unmute the lines again to see if anybody wants to share something about resistance. It's kind of noisy.
A little echo.
All right, sorry. If you want to talk, just shoot me a chat and I'll open your line, okay? So next tip. Let's see if I can get this actually to go there. All right. So here's this third tip for our call today, and there's only 3 tips. I just want to reiterate what the first one is. The first one is about being creative on where to meet, how to meet, where to meet, and how to connect with new people that might be a potential client. I mean, at the worst case, you could get a really good friend out of it. A lot of my clients become my best friends, like Anna. Anna was a client in the beginning, but surely somewhere along the way that client relationship kind of melted into, being a great friend. And that's really how you'll know that you're removing your blinders, is you're being creative about your marketing. And then the second tip is about resistance. Letting the resistance be there is okay, and knowing that it's okay that your resistance is there, because it's going to build a muscle when you push through it. But you've got to push through the resistance. You can't just let it live like it's the truth. So that was number 2. And that's what's standing in the way sometimes. But then the third tip, I love this one, because the other thing, when I was on my way to this networking meeting, my first meeting in Santa Fe, I had to create a being of who I was going to be being when I walked in the room. And a lot of people forget this, but I'm going to tell you something that will, when you brush your teeth tomorrow, you will never forget this tip, okay? I'm going to connect it to your toothbrushing. Now, you would never leave the house without brushing your teeth, would you? If you would, I don't want to know about it, okay? I assume most people here are good self-care people. So when you brush your teeth tomorrow morning or tonight even, or maybe after lunch, I want you to declare who you're going to be being in the next moment, because this is so important. We think that what we do is so important, but I'm telling you, doing has to follow being. You've got to create who you're being moment to moment so that you can inform your actions. It doesn't go the other way around. You think, oh, if I build my website, then I'll be a savvy goddess of business. It's not that way. Long before I ever started Perfect Customers, I created the vision of who I was going to be being in my business as a CEO. And even though there was only 2 people in our business, I created, that was my very first being. And I was going to run it like a CEO. And I didn't know what a CEO even meant or what they would think about. So I hired a coach, and the coach trained me on how to think like a CEO, how to run my business like I was the head of a large organization. And now I coach, I'm an executive coach for many CEOs for that reason, because I think like they do. And so it was a being first, because certainly when I first started Perfect Customers 16 years ago, I was not in the place to really know what that looked like. But now I stepped into those shoes because I created the being first. And that's our blinder tip removal number 3, is that you've got one way to remove your blinder is to declare who you're going to be. So if you think that if you think I'm a savvy goddess of business, wave your hand. Say, yes, I think you're a savvy goddess of business. Okay. All right. Ask Alan. Alan would be the truth teller because he saw me before the call. Was I being a savvy goddess of business, Alan? No, I'm
You
like,
shifted your being.
my hair wasn't working. The headset wasn't looking right. You know, I have my whole litany of stuff that I go through, telling him, why didn't we just do a teleconference call? Why do we have to climb in front of it? Those are all my stuff. But that's not who I wanted to be being when I got on the group call today. So your being can be adjusted every minute, and your being is what people notice about you. So when you walk in a room or you get on a Zoom video chat, your being is what catches their attention. If you've ever been in a conference or a crowded event, and all of a sudden your head turns or you notice somebody from across the room, it's their being, it's their presence. And so each moment we get an opportunity to remove our blinder, and my blinders were all the stuff that comes up for me before I get in front of an event. It's not really truly who I am. So I get to create that moment to moment.
Yeah, I love what Denise just said. A great point. You can adjust your being moment to moment and keep from getting stuck in any specific moment.
That's right.
So it's a vibrational thing, you know.
And to use tapping, yes. You know, that's one of the things we talk about in our second book, Being Attraction, What Love Has to Do with Business and Marketing, is that we can do all the right things. We can do all the right things and still not attract the business that we want to our the clientele that we really want, or enough clients, or the financial reward that we're looking for. However, when we are attracting the same things over and over, the same situations, maybe a client that doesn't pay, or maybe not enough clients, or when I am attracting those things over and over, that is evidence that there's something else needs to happen. And I think it's an energetic thing, because I've owned my business for 16 years. Alan and I have been a part of it for 12. Before that, I was a VP of sales, and before that, I was 20 years in the sales business of learning the hard way. I used to cold call door to door in downtown Houston, Texas, which is an oxymoron, haha, to cold call in Houston, Texas. Anyway, what I was taught when I first got into sales is that it's all about technique. If you say the right thing, if you learn to close business and say the right words, then you can get the business. But it's not about technique. You don't need technique. You need vibration. So blinder removal number 3 is about your vibration. So all of our blinder tips are about adjusting your vibration to be someone that magnetizes, that draws somebody to you. You know, whether it's being creative. Being creative in itself is a vibration. Whether it's removing a resistance or pushing up against a resistance and doing it anyway. That's about a vibration. You're raising your vibration every time you do that. And certainly when you create your being about who you're going to be being in your business, every moment, that creation is creating the vibration of who you really are. It's aligning with that, and then the people that you're meant to be serving will be drawn to you. Denise says, use tapping to break through the resistance. Great point. Adjust it every minute versus getting stuck in a mood or in action. For me, it's about the heart. And I agree with that. That's how you create a heart-centered business. So those are our blinder tips. I'm going to go ahead and see if anybody has any questions. I'm going to open the floor for questions or comments. All right. So let's see. All right. So what we wanted to do is to just tell you a little bit about, you know, some of the things that we offer. You might have a question about. Some of the things that we talked about today really are part of a whole program that we teach. And some of you might be interested in our program. Some of you might have already participated. But we have 2 events coming up. We just want to let you know about it. And one of them is a live event in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So it is the land of enchantment. If you've ever wanted to come to Santa Fe, this might be your opportunity to combine 2 things. We have a fabulous retreat. Many people that come to our retreat, our lives are changed and altered forever just out of that experience alone. But we also have a program that goes along with it called our Strategic Attraction Coaching and Training. And it's an opportunity for you to really get into the underpinnings. How would you describe it, Alan? Well, it's the behind the curtains way of what it takes to remove all those blinders. It's how to get that vibration that you really want to attract clients with, because that vibration, the higher your vibration is, the better your clientele will be. And so that's what our programs are all about. There's a lot of information that goes with it, but it's mostly about adjusting and attuning your vibration with who you truly are so that you can attract more clients to you that you would describe as a perfect match.
Yeah, it's a transformational program.
So at the heart of our program is what we call strategic attraction planning. We didn't go into that today. This is kind of a precursor, but we're going to share some of the strategic attraction planning steps with you in another call. Let's see, our slide went away. All right. So tell them a little bit about something you're excited about around our new program, Alan, while I find our slide.
Well, one of the things that I'm really excited about, of course, is we went to I guess you'd call it a workshop, and there was a fellow, I don't know, it was like 250 people there, and this one fellow from Canada was talking about how what people, you know, if you come in with a lot of information, and he showed, for example, you drop 5 CDs on them and 6 books, and he had a whole stack of information and whatnot. So that's not what people need today. What people need and want is transformation. And so that is really becoming clear to me that the number one thing that I see happening in our programs is the strategic attraction planning process is a step-by-step formula for anyone to experience the transformation that you need to begin to be able to make decisions based on what's important to me. From there, I can go to any workshop or seminar and take what's important to me, know what it is, and leave the rest. And so it's, that's really one of the things that stands out to me is the transformation that takes place in a very natural and almost effortless way.
Okay. Well, that's really true, Alan. I'm going to kind of do a little rewind in just a second for somebody was asking to repeat the blinder steps. But I wanted to just highlight what you said there about the transformation. Today we like to use fun and play as part of our transformational tools. As you've noticed, our program is called Say Cat. As you'll notice, there's a cat in the middle of the name. And so, I'm a cat lover, and I say that my cats help me get that program started. And so there's just a lot of fun and play in the transformation. In our blinder conversation, let's see. Somebody wanted me to I'm just going to give you a quick refresher if you came in late. Blinder tip number 1 is about how to be creative, or to be creative about how and where to meet your clients. And so that was all about getting outside of our box, so to speak, and imagining where's the craziest place you might want to meet a client. And the point of that exercise is that we can meet clients when we least expect it. So be ready to meet clients everywhere you go. That's kind of the other side.
They are everywhere, and our experience has been that when we remove those blinders, oh my goodness, there's the room's filled with perfect customers.
Oh, I didn't think anybody would come to today's call. Here you are.
That's great.
Here's blinder tip number 2, just to refresh your memory, is you can be the Lone Ranger bluefish going in your own direction all by yourself, or you can attract a whole team of goldfish to play with. And what you've got to do to remove this blinder is to, 1, identify your resistance to change. And by identifying that resistance, you are on your way to removing that blinder. Now, the second half of this blinder tip is to communicate. Like I can be in my little secret cave, my cloak of invisibility around me and go, oh yeah, I don't want anybody to know that I'm really scared to meet them. That might be my resistance, or that I'm an introvert and it takes a little more for me to come out of my cave to meet people. That's I might identify that as my resistance, but it's never going to melt away until I get in communication with one more person. So there's lots of other ways to remove those blinders. Getting communication is step 2 of this particular resistance blinder, but they also to recognize I'm building a muscle every time I move through my resistance. And bring in, like Denise suggested, sometimes it's communicating with another person, but I can also use such things as tapping. I think that's a really good example of something I can use. I use some things, I use clearing exercises, which we're not doing one of our daily downloads in this call today. But you know what? I'm going to promise you that as a result of this call, I'm going to give you an energetic transformational transmission in a separate video where we're doing, I've been being called, okay, now I'm going to tell myself, being called to do more of the transformational part of energetic shifting of our vibration. Blah, I can't even get it out of my mouth. Oh gosh.
Well, it's interesting.
Love for me. Yeah. Anyway, I'm doing some what I call them daily downloads, and it's an energy transmission, and it's transformational. And I promise you I'll help you with that.
Yeah, I wanted to mention something about this particular slide that relates to what you just said, and the resistance that you have around it,
Okay.
is that we all have, is that one of the things that I notice is that all of the examples of where to, strange places to meet potentially perfect customers, none of them I'm by myself.
That's right.
Not one.
None of them. I mean, really, we've got it. Alan and I used to, when we got in relationship together, just say it takes two. Like I couldn't have done this without you. So get in relationship. Our whole programs are about being in relationship with yourself, but with other people too. And not just your dog or your cat. All right, here's tip number 3. It's about your being. Remember, you're going to brush your teeth and create your being, okay? I want you to think of me now every time you brush your teeth. So declare who you being. That's tip number 3, every moment, and you can do that moment to moment. And it doesn't matter how bad of a hair day you have. You can shift that in an instant. It doesn't matter how heavy or thick your blinder might be about some situation. You can shift it, and it all can shift in a start of creating the being that you want to be seen as by your perfect customers.
Yeah, and it's not just positive thinking, Pollyanna. It's literally shifting your own inner vibration, and that's the foundation piece.
Yeah. So I know we said we were going to close, and if you need to leave early, might go just a few minutes over. But you know what, Alan? I'm going to do a little daily download right now. Okay? We didn't plan this, but if you want to stay on, I'm going to invite you for a spontaneous expression of energy transmission that I'm being called to do right now. So how do you feel out? Is that a good thumbs up?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right. I feel like I'm in the right company to do this. So thank you. I love you all. Big hug. Group hug. Group hug. Hearts. And I'm not going to say anything else about this particular slide because it says it all. If you want to know more, Perfect Customers is our website. We would love to have you in our program, and we'll send you an email. Don't worry. You'll hear from us. All right. So I'm going to remove the slide. Let's see. There we go. And it's just us peeps. Okay. All right. I'm going to turn my video off for a minute. Okay. If you want to just close your eyes, I'm going to invite you to just sit back into your chair. Feel your feet as a grounding tool for your body. And the way that you do that is just to bring your attention to the bottom of your feet. We've been covering a lot of information that could have been all up in our head, and now let's just bring it all the way from our head, all the way down into our feet. And feel that information slowly trickling in, letting in what felt right to you and letting go of anything that wasn't a perfect fit. And as we think about building our businesses and expanding our clientele and seeing the people that are perfect for us to be working with, let's just visualize now that I am everything I need to do that. I am everything I need. I have everything I need right now, right here, to do that. My blinders are off. I'm available. People that might have been invisible to me before can be visible to me now. And take a deep breath. And go ahead and let that go. And just breathe in that I am everything. I have everything. I am everything. I need nothing more. And breathe that in. And as you continue to breathe on your own, just feel your feet and feel the top of your head and everything in between. Feeling our root chakra at the tailbone, feeling a connection there. And our sacred chakra, our second chakra, our zone of creativity, feeling a connection there. Our third chakra, our power center right in our solar plexus, feeling a connection there. Moving to our heart chakra, feeling our hearts are opening. Our throat chakra, our throats are opening for clear communication. Our third eye is opening for clearer vision, allowing our eyes to be more than just eyes, that we see beyond what's in front of us. And our crown chakra is open and ready to receive our spiritual side, our connection to source. However you connect in with your highest and best source, let's do that now. And feel that connection opening that goes all the way to your highest and best source and connects all the way through the top of your head, all the way through all of your chakras, your energy centers, all the way through your hips, your legs, your thighs, your knees, out through the bottom of your feet. And feel that connection going to the center of the earth, the core of the mother herself. And just take a breath and know that you are way more than just this physical body. You are an energy being. You are a spiritual being. You are here on this planet Earth for a reason. You were given these 2 feet to walk on this earth, and your business is a mission of your service. So every time we take in new information, we're really receiving a transmission of energy to give us more of the vibration of what we need in each moment. And again, I affirm, I have all that I need right here, right now. My being is in this moment, everything that allows me to have everything I want as soon as possible. And so it is. So take another deep breath. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And thank you, everybody, for joining us on this beautiful, beautiful call today. And I hope that you received something that, just expanded your vision and your abilities and made your business and your life just even better than when you got here before. So thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Great big group hug.
Thank you, Jan and Ellen. That was
Dating game
great.
kiss.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hearts all the way around. Thanks so much. Love you lots.